Well, hello and good morning. It is Monday at 4:15 in the morning. I got up at 3. I think it's because I know I made a mistake at work and I need to solve it, and I was having like a panic about whether or not I was going to accidentally sleep in and not be able to get this fixed. So I think that's what's going on. It's 4 a.m., which is why this is my coffee. Yep. Hello. How are my friends doing now? It is Monday. It's 9:09. I just dropped some supplies off to my boss, so I have to drive back across town to get to my house, grab some sort of coffee drink, even though I've had 2 glasses of coffee. There's always room for more coffee, isn't there? It's kind of lovely out, and, you know, it's December 21st. The sky is blue, and the birds are chirping. I don't know what the birds. Ain't no birds. I killed them all. What am I talking about? I'm just rambling while I'm driving. Driving drums. Anywho's, I'm gonna go get some coffee in me. We're in bed again. See this handsome fellow. Look how handsome he be. I think it's the 23rd. I don't know. It's Wednesday. That's a growly. Ah! And that is outside my window. Let's see what's out there. Can you hear the plane? I can hear the plane. Now Travis is calling Jesus. We're atheists. This is not right.
No judgment.
Can you guys hear this noise? Hold on, let me mute my video.
Eating other animals without.
Can you guys hear that? It's fucking Christmas Eve. Can we take a day off? Like, I realize you guys are working, but like, this is my house. And you're just like running some sort of generator so loud that I feel like I'm gonna vomit because my head hurts. Like, see? In a lot of ways, it's kind of coming and going right now. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. But in a lot of ways, it's more annoying than having, like, hammering or something. Yeah, I can't tell what it is. It feels more like a generator. It doesn't, like, feel like for a second I thought maybe they were unsurfacing the floor to resurface it, but it doesn't feel it just feels like a sound. Like, it feels like a byproduct. It doesn't feel like the sound is doing anything, if that makes sense. But I fucking hate it. Oh, it's off again. Hello! So it's Friday, it's like 4 o'clock. I have my stream at 7, but I do have a little bit of time. I started putting some makeup on. Ooh, and now it's everywhere. Yes! Because I haven't done my foundation yet. That's beside the point. So I'm going to watch another episode of the Masterclass while I finish putting my face on, and then I'm going to look at the activity there and see what there is to do there. Today is Christmas Day, so I've been kind of vegging. I did a couple dishes. I haven't done anything very productive today, and yesterday was like the day I saw people. We went to my parents' house and hung out with my parents in masks. I'm gonna watch this masterclass and maybe finish putting something on my face. Hey guys, so I'm back. I finished my makeup. I have not brushed my hair yet, but she needed love, she said meow. So I'm giving her love. So I think I got some makeup on my contacts. If I make weird faces, that's why. Trying to get ready for my stream and get sorted out what I'm going to do with myself during my stream. It looks like it very well might only be me, so that's fine. I mean, it's not the first time I've done it. But, yeah. So I'm going to finish getting ready, probably brush my hair, cuddle this cat so she doesn't have a nervous breakdown. And then I'm going to get ready for my stream that starts in 2 hours. Side note, anything filmed today is going to have a little bit of background noise. So Travis just got a new video game, and he is in video game land. And though he is at the back of the house, you probably are going to hear a little bit of video game noise. So if you hear something weird in the background of anything from this point forward, that would be it. Hey there, so it's Sunday. Today's the day I usually do my video. It looks like it's going to be a little bit later because I kind of don't feel like editing, and I kind of do feel like working on this masterclass. So the last classes I took, because I did a couple of them without talking to you guys, so now I'm on chapter 7. Let me go through my notes. Okay, so chapter 5 was about narrative point of view. During this section, she suggested that you try different points of view to see which point of view works best for your story. Some stories will do best with a third, some will do best with a first. She also mentioned second if you're brave. I'm not brave enough to use second. I won't be using second probably ever. She did say that once you find the right point of view, the story will probably start flowing more quickly and more readily because you've found the right way to tell it. One of the situations in which she said like you might have some problems with point of view is as a third person narrator you would have trouble lying to the reader, but as a character narrator, such as, you know, a first person narrator, you can lie to the reader because you can become an untrustworthy narrator, and that's a little bit harder to do in third person. Chapter 6 was point of view case studies, where she talked a little bit more in depth about how she came to the point of view for her own works, including Alias Grey, and she does talk a little bit about A Handmaid's Tale. If you're familiar with that, I know a lot of people that's probably their most familiar Margaret Atwood story. She does talk a little bit about witness literature, which is where the person who is telling the story is a witness to the story, and how that's almost always going to be first person because you need to see it through that person's eyes, and first person works better to translate that. Chapter 7 is bringing characters to life through detail. I am looking forward to this section. That's one of my favorite things, is kind of the details that make characters come to life. I'm a really big fan of like large worlds like the Stephen King universe and those kinds of things where little sprinklings might matter elsewhere or might reference things elsewhere. That stuff is really thrilling to me. That's why I enjoy things like Stephen King movies and Twin Peaks and American Horror Story and those kinds of things where the story doesn't necessarily directly interact with other stories, but there are references that tell you that you're in the same universe. And I like that big universe feel. For me, that's really rewarding. So I think the small details are the parts that are the biggest payoff for me as a reader, which also means that it should be something that I'm more comfortable doing, and I honestly don't know how good I am at that. It's the kind of thing that I don't necessarily think about. It's one of the steps in the process that I don't necessarily think about. I do see some of it in my writing, but I think I might need to focus more directly on it in order to be able to use it more readily. So hopefully this section will help me with that. Chapter 7 is the bringing characters to life through detail, which I don't think I've checked in since. She talked a little bit about giving readers clues to the background of your character. Obviously, you're not going to just like throw a character sketch in a book because nobody's going to read a fucking character sketch. That's ridiculous. But sprinkling those things in, making sure that they're conveyed appropriately. She pointed out that there was a story where she wanted a character to be thin and people perceived her to be heavy, and so she had to go back and do some more adjusting to make sure that it was conveyed clearly that the character was thin. Those kinds of things are important. She also talked about going to experts, someone who knows what you're talking about, knows the background of what you're talking about. For instance, if you're a 60-year-old female writing a book, maybe your 18-year-old male character, you might want to grab somebody who's in that age range who can give you some reference material so that you don't sound like you're talking out your ass. Because, you know, sometimes we are. That's sometimes what we're doing is talking out our ass. She mentioned going to experts. Sometimes you might need 2 or 3. You might need different kinds of experts. I think things that would fall under the expert label would also be things like sensitivity reading. Those kinds of things would also fall in there. So if you're going to need a sensitivity sensitivity reader, make sure that you tell them what you're looking for, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what specifically you feel like you need help with, and make sure that you listen. Listen very carefully to what you're being told, because that's why you're going to an expert, is because you don't know these things. Whether or not you actually change your work based on that information, that is ultimately up to you, but keep in mind that you're asking these people for their information for a reason, and if you're not going to use that, then you're wasting their time, and everybody is just wasting time. Chapter 8 is creating compelling characters, which obviously is super important. One of the things she focused on, basically, if you're familiar with Margaret Atwood, you might be aware that this would be something she would focus on, would be gender norms. Making sure that, if you're writing a period piece, that people behave within the gender norms and things like that. But also keeping in mind that we now know as a culture that there isn't a black and white male, female gender, and that it is a spectrum. And so the more modern your story is, the more you can play with that and the more things you can do with that and have it not necessarily directly affect the storyline. But in certain periods of time, those kinds of things would affect your storyline. So you should be aware of those things when you're doing them. And while it's encouraged to subvert people's expectations and to change the way people think about things, keep in mind that the other characters in your story are going to respond in certain ways based on when and where the story takes place. Another thing she talked about is villains and unlikable characters. She pointed out that Captain Ahab in Moby Dick is not likable at all, but he is compelling, and that's the difference, is that you want a character who is compelling, not necessarily a character who's likable. There are plenty of unlikable characters throughout literature, and that's fine. You just need them to be compelling. You need them to be someone you're interested in seeing what they're doing and hearing what they have to say for whatever reason. It doesn't have to fit into any specific group of rules. They just have to be compelling. If you don't know what is going to happen next, maybe look to other villains, see other things that have been done that have packed a punch, things that might make a difference in your specific story, things that might make the villain continue to be compelling, something new they're doing, something they're doing that flips the expectation on its head, things like that would make your reader then not know what the villain's going to do next, because at the end of the day, that's really important, that they don't know what's going to happen next, or that's when they put your book down. And she also talked in depth about creating character backgrounds and things like that in both sections. I think it's really important that you know these things. You might not need to fill out one of these forms, but you also might feel more comfortable if you do. Keep in mind that some of these forms will work for you and some of them won't. Obviously, the internet is full of people trying to get your information. If, for instance, you see one where they want your email address, there are throwaway emails that you can get to do that. Don't just give your email to people, because that is that's actually like a lot of information for them to have about you. Once they can start spamming you, then they just keep spamming you. So maybe go to like a throwaway email. You can look up throwaway or disposable emails on the internet to do those kinds of things where you just want to download a form from somewhere, especially if they're sketchy. Why do you suppose that I can record here and he can't hear me, but he's on the phone back there and I need to hear every word he fucking says? Finished chapter 9, writing through roadblocks, and realized that the sun has basically gone down. So it's not even 4 yet, but I'm gonna have to turn some lights on. So I'm gonna do that, and then maybe I'll do the next section. I don't know why he's screaming. I don't know why he's fucking screaming. Apparently he wants me to know. Yeah, he does. Okay, so now I have light, and it's uneven, and I'm sorry. That's what you're getting. First thing she said was be prepared to be interrupted. I think we've all kind of learned that over time. But yeah, we get interrupted a lot. We can't just like hole ourselves in a corner somewhere and have people like serve us, unfortunately. She said if you're feeling blocked, that she recommends going for a walk or sleeping. She also said ironing has worked. And then she also said that you may throw out a lot of the work that you do. Like, it may not be something that you keep. It's important to remember that you might not keep everything you write, and that not everything you write is going to be good for that, but that you can learn from something and still have it be useful, even if you don't, like, sell it or publish it or whatever. Anyway, so I think that does it for today. That is 9 through section 9, chapter 9, whatever you want to call it, of the Margaret Atwood Masterclass. So I hope that you guys enjoy my rundown so far. I'm trying a little harder to give you guys a little more information, but still also walk that line of not being a crazy person who just, like, gives you a class that she just watched, because that's weird. Let me know if you have any questions about the masterclass down below. I think I might be able to finish it next week, but we'll see. I don't have my day job except one day, so hopefully that will give me time to finish it. And I do have to do some more of the exercises. This one moves a little differently, and the exercises work a little differently, so I haven't really gotten all of them done, but I will get some of them and then get them up on my Patreon and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, speaking of Patreon, links to my Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Snapchat, all that shit are down in my link tree down below. So if you would go ahead and click on that link and go to all those places and subscribe, follow, all that jazz, that would be great. Speaking of subscribe, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below. If you want to know when I post, you can hit the little bell thing, although that annoys most people, so you probably don't want to do that, but that's cool. And if you hit the like button, that would be super awesome too. And if you enjoyed this video, maybe share it with your friends. That would be badass. Anyway, I'll see you guys all later, and now it's time to watch my cats. On a show. Did you just excite yourself too much? Max. Dreamer. Figure out what we're doing over here. Weird around here. What's she doing? up to? Huh? What are you up to? What you doing? There's the dreamer doing the dreamer stuff. Growly face. What you doing? He was just playing. As soon as I turn this off, he's gonna start again. Mother fucking gravity, are you fucking serious?